guys, my name is Terry. Hey, thanks so much for checking out my channel, Home Again. Well, today I am in a cookie baking, candy making frenzy. And I think I'm gonna make a series out of it. So I better stop talking and get baking. So why don't you join me? Okay, we're gonna make what I think is the most popular Christmas cookie, sugar cookies. I have my ingredients here around me. This recipe I've been using for decades now. And yeah, it's a good one. It's easy and it's foolproof. So I'm gonna double this recipe, so it's gonna be a huge amount, but this freezes really well. So I will post the recipe up on the page, but I will post a single batch. If you wanna make as much as I am, you're gonna need to double the batch. And these ingredients that I'm putting in right now is for a double batch. So we're gonna start with 3/4 cup of butter. I have it softened. And 3/4 cup of vegetable shortening like Crisco or whatever. It doesn't need to be that brand. I've used off brands before. And to that, we are going to add our sugar, which right here I have 2 cups of sugar. And, whoops, sorry about that, I dropped my recipe. And our eggs, 4 eggs. And now our vanilla, which is 2 teaspoons of vanilla. Now we're going to blend this all up. Now to this, we are going to add 5 cups of flour, but I almost forgot. To my flour, I am going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder. Doesn't want to come out. Come on out of there. Baking powder, not soda. That's important. And 2 teaspoons of salt. Like I said, this is a gigantic batch, so that's why everything sounds such massive quantities, because this is gonna make a lot of cookies. I think these cookies are so much work that I don't like to make them very often. I used to have lots of helpers and I don't anymore, so it's just me. So they're a lot of work. So when I make this, I like to make a big batch because it freezes really well. And you could make it months later. If you wanted sugar cookies again, then you just bring it out of the freezer and roll it out. So we've mixed that all in, and now we're gonna gradually add that to our moist ingredients. such a good little mixer. It's a good mixer. I don't know how you're still alive. The abuse I put you through. I gotta get a spoon that can hold up to this batter. Hold on a minute. Be back. Okay, now I got a good old wooden spoon. This batter's pretty firm, obviously, because you're gonna roll it out. So just get off the sides, and we're gonna take this and I'm gonna put it in a, I guess maybe I'll just put it in a baggie, a Ziploc. That's what I usually do. Put it in my fridge, and we're gonna chill it for 1 hour because that's gonna make it easier to roll out. Right now it's pretty sticky, as you can see. And we're gonna chill it for 1 hour and bring it out and start rolling it out and cutting our cookies. And like I said, this makes a lot. I will probably only roll out half of it and freeze the rest. If you have a family or you want to give them away though, you're gonna want this much. Now put that in the fridge for 1 hour. So for my sugar cookies, I don't use frosting, I just use an icing. And so that takes a pound of powdered sugar, 4 teaspoons of water, and 2 egg whites. So I'm gonna separate my eggs here. You can, use whatever frosting you want. I just do this because it's pretty quick and easy. If you have little ones and they want to decorate and you want to have them pipe it on, however you want to do it, that's up to you. But after all the work of making them, I just like to get them frosted and get on with the show here. So I put the icing on them, and then while the icing's still wet, we put a few sprinkles on top. There, so we got our 2 egg whites. Put our powdered sugar in the bowl. And our 2 egg whites. And then we're gonna add the water as we need it because we don't want it too runny. If you make it too runny, it's just gonna run right off the side of the cookie. That's probably runnier than I want it to be. So I'm gonna just add a little more powdered sugar. I don't know, maybe I didn't have quite a pound. Very sweet, but you don't put much on it, and it kind of hardens in a glossy shine like that. Get it off the beaters. Get it off the sides of the bowl here. And I'm gonna cover it really good and keep it moist. Gonna wrap it and let it set while I roll out and bake my cookies. So that way, when the cookies come out of the oven, after After they cool a little, we're all ready to frost them, to decorate them. Now this is probably not enough icing to do all those cookies to that double batch. I mean, it might be because you really use very little for each cookie, we'll see. But like I said, I'm probably not going to make all of those cookies. I'm probably gonna freeze half of it. So I'll put the recipe up for this icing too. Make sure the air doesn't get to it, because as soon as you frost the cookies and they set out to cool and to dry, the icing will dry and kind of harden on them. It's like a glaze. So you don't want to let it dry out before you get ready to ice them. So we got our dough out, chilled for at least an hour. It was probably more like a couple hours. Take it out of the fridge and take a nice clean countertop and put a little flour down. Take a portion of this dough, work it in your hands a little. Kind of like making a pie. Put it down, floured surface. Get it so it's not so sticky. Keep it floured pretty well so it doesn't stick. And we'll roll it out even as we can. We'll cut some cookies. We're gonna get our oven preheating at 400 degrees. Got my Christmas cookie cutters out here. And I usually make all different sizes, but this is always the most popular one, is the Christmas tree, because it's one of the biggest ones and everybody wants a Christmas tree. So this year I'm just gonna keep it simple and I'm just gonna make Christmas trees. You want them about that thickness right there. You see that? I like to keep them thick enough so they don't get all dry and crunchy. Because like with my other cookies, I like a nice soft cookie. If you like them hard and crunchy, then you can roll them thinner or bake them longer. You get the idea. Just keep at this here. You want to dip that cookie cutter in some flour too to keep it from sticking. This is a really tender dough, so you gotta be really careful not to tear them. That's going to make a nice moist cookie. And there we go. First batch is ready to go into the oven, and we're going to check these in about 5 minutes. 400 degrees. We're going to check them at 5 minutes. They might take 6 to 8, but we're going to check them at 5. Okay, so they just came out of the oven. They don't look real brown. They just get a little puffy. I don't know if you can see that. And we're gonna let them continue to cook on the sheet. So they were in 400 degree oven. Mine are kind of thick, and they were in there for 7 minutes. But it'll depend on how thick you make them and then, you know, how hot your oven gets. So we'll let them continue to cook on that sheet, and they should be just perfect. I'm gonna put another batch in now. So I moved them to the cooling rack. And this is what they should look like. See that? Nice and moist, not crunchy. Unless you want them crunchy, then you just cook them a little longer. Pretty soon we're gonna ice them. So now it's time to frost our cookies. stirred up the icing that we made. Just put a little blob on it there, a little dollop. Smear it around. And when this icing sets, it kind of hardens a bit. So you want to get your sprinkles on before it's hard. And this is where it's nice to have some helpers. Let's decorate the tree there. Said you can frost them all different ways. This is just an easy, quick way that I like to do it. They are a lot of work when it comes to rolling it all out and all that, but they are good and they're one of the favorites in our family. So give them a try. I think you'll like them. And like I was saying before, this dough can be frozen. It freezes really well. And then also you can bake the cookies like I have here. And then you can freeze the cookies just like this, plain. And pull them out later. The only thing is when they're in the freezer, you're gonna wanna keep them from getting broken up. So I usually put them in a Ziploc bag, and then if you have like a plastic container, you can put them in so they don't get banged around in the freezer because they will break pretty easily. And another way too, if you don't wanna ice them, when they are going in the oven raw, you can also just put sprinkles on them then and they will bake right into them. If you don't want to do all this icing, just have a little bit of sprinkles on them. That works too. Like I said, I usually do all different shapes, but I only did a couple stars this time because I had some leftover dough that wasn't big enough for a tree. These are almost always the ones my kids would go after, are the Christmas trees. I think because they were the biggest ones. This is the biggest cookie cutter I had. And let me see, I'm gonna count how many that. This was a double recipe and it made, I'm gonna count here. It made about 40 cookies, 38 or 40 cookies. So, but these were big cookies. If you use smaller cookie cutters like stars or bells or whatever you have, of course it would go further. These keep pretty good too in a container or Ziplocs. They'll last pretty long. And I don't know if you know the cookie trick, but if you have cookies and you want them to stay moist, you can always put a piece of like white bread in the bag or the container or the cookie jar. And the moisture from the bread, the cookies will absorb the moisture from the bread, and that'll keep your cookies soft longer. These cookies are also nice for like Valentine's Day. You could use a heart-shaped cookie cutter, or for fall, using a pumpkin-shaped cookie cutter. It's just a good sugar cookie recipe. Pretty simple, and they taste delicious. And if you want, you can even make this icing a little thinner, so you really don't have to spread it. I've had it times where I've made it thin enough to where I could just tip a cookie upside down in it, dip it, and bring it up. And sometimes it would drip off the edges a bit though, but we never minded. depends on how fussy you are with your decorating. It is nice if you have help too, and one person can put the icing on and one person can put the sprinkles on. And then also, if your icing is getting a little thicker than you like, you can always just add little drops of water at a time and stir it up good, and it'll thin it down a little. But just add a little at a time, because it's easy to go overboard and get it too thin. So get a little assembly line going and you'll have cookies for your family and your friends and your neighbors. So, we got them all iced, and this is all we have left. Nothing. I've never come up that short. I would definitely recommend, if you make a double batch of this cookie batter like I did, that you would also make a double batch of the icing. Because, yeah, if you spilled any or anything, you wouldn't have enough, and some hardly have any on it at all. So, make a double batch of the icing too. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you liked this video, would you give me a like below and consider subscribing? Thanks. Hope to see you next time.